Namaste, welcome, hello everybody, thank you for joining me today on this video, and I'm wanting to share a message with you today from Mother Earth herself. I only make videos if I really get a strong message that needs to be shared, and this one came through in a really beautiful journey, what I call a night journey that I sometimes have in the middle of the night. It's kind of dreamlike, but I'm awake, and in that time is most potent for me to communicate with great spirit, with beings, guardians, angels, myself, have a good old chat with myself on a really deep level. And in this case, I had a beautiful chat with Mother Earth, and I wanted to share some of her messages that were partly for me to ease my anxieties, that I felt definitely would be useful for somebody out there. So, you know, just to give us context yet again, we are going through a lot on the planet. It is my deep belief and knowing that we are shifting in consciousness to a high vibration. And this profound and enormous change is being witnessed in the external world as well as the internal world. And so I know there's a lot of fear on the planet at the moment about climate change, about, you know, the end times, that the earth is going to die. And that is one narrative that has been really pushed, if you think about it, like through the education and media channels. On the flip side, those that are now no longer trusting the media and education channels, and the political channels too, there is a narrative of fear as well, a narrative about geoengineering, that the weather's being manipulated by the evil powers that be, and you know, to cause drought and flood and fire. So that also is a fear narrative, and I'm not here to say which one is right or wrong, or if either of them have any truth to them. You know, I have my own suspicions, but I don't research into that, and that's really important to understand at this time on our planet, that there are stories flying around everywhere, and you know, it's part of our soul evolution at the moment to really tune into our own inner truth about things, our own knowing. Right? There's a difference between, you know, believing something to be true and a knowing, like a deep soul knowing. And that deep soul knowing comes from a place that is not your head. It isn't constructed out of things you've been told, or even sometimes logical evidence, because we can misinterpret evidence. That's, you know, if we see many environmental calamities coming our way, we might have the facts. Okay, there's this flood and this fire and this tsunami, and right, the facts. Those things happened, but how we interpret it is the human frailty, if you like. We will interpret those things through a lens of story. So we might say, well, that must mean that, you know, the earth is in danger, and climate change is, human beings have caused all of these things. They're just stories, and you know, and I respect anyone who dives deeply into that research and really consolidates that story for themselves. Like I said, I'm not saying that there isn't truth to it, but I like to play in the deeper levels of truth, in the levels of truth that one might call the subtle realms, the dreaming, the inner knowing, the inner universe, the connection to the Akashic records, so the information of all that is, was, and all that ever was, is, and will be. Okay? Because in the higher realms there is no time. So everything collapses. It's quantum physics. Quantum physics is one story that I do follow, because you know, there is truth to science. There absolutely is. It's just how we interpret it that we sometimes we trip ourselves up. Anyway, I'm digressing into a land which could get me into trouble because I'm not terribly good at science. But what I am good at is communicating with the subtle realms. And this story began because we had really heavy rain here in the last few days, and we've had heavy rains this whole year. And we had what earlier in the year, what was some people were describing as a rain bomb. Even the media were calling it that. And it was suspected at the time that it was definitely geoengineering. It was a very strange weather. And I sat in my house for, I think it was something like a week, with the heaviest rain I've ever heard pelting down, and no normal sort of fluctuations in wind patterns or rise and falls and ebbs. And anyway, it was quite strange. So my inner knowing told me that there was something a bit suspect. This time, now we fast track like 6 months later, we get heavy rains again. And I noticed something about my own thought process. I noticed that I was afraid of the rain because I was attaching the negative geoengineering story to the rain. So I was hearing the rain and I was thinking, oh, they're manipulating the weather again. Oh no, you know. Because out of all the stories that are floating around out there, that is the one that I, you know, feel more likely to trust. Okay, so it's just a story, but that's where my mind went, was, oh no, they're engineering again. And then I caught myself and I was like, that's interesting. I love the rain. I actually really love the rain. And one reason why I moved to this part of Australia is that we do get summer rain, heavy summer rain, and it's really beautiful. It's warm, and you know, you can run out there naked in it if you want to. It's just beautiful, beautiful rain. So I realized that my normal joy of seeing rain had dissipated in the wake of this new narrative that had overlaid this programming, really, which told me that the rain is bad because someone is manipulating it. So with that understanding, that happened before the night journey, and then that night I spoke directly to Mother Earth, and that's all I'll say. I mean, I can give her a title, Mother Earth, but the energy is definitely maternal. It felt very feminine. And I had a long yarn with Mama Earth. She told me that the waters on the planet, the flooding on the planet, is the birthing waters of the new Earth. She said it's happening all over the planet, and it's actually a really positive sign. It's not a calamity, it's a positive sign. She reminded me that before I incarnated, I had, you know, there were certain things always predestined to kind of unfold in these timelines that we're living through. And while the details are, you know, shifting all the time, and many timelines are possible, there was one thing that I knew when I came into this life. When I saw this thing, it would be an indicator that the new Earth had begun. There's probably many things, actually, because, you know, we forget so much when we're born. We're just living almost like a blind little mole underground, yeah, in terms of the amount that we can see. But this is one thing I was remembering, that I knew that when the floodwaters came to the earth, it would be a sign that the new earth had truly begun, was being birthed. And that's what's happening right now on the planet. I know in my heart that all is well on the planet. And if you are feeling anxiety, I would love you to put aside all of the stories that you're carrying about what's going on in the environment, and go into a forest, or go to the beach, or sit under a tree and ask Mother Earth herself, ask nature, or simply ask your own heart, right? Because our hearts are like they're connected to Mother Earth like an umbilical cord, right? Our hearts are the fractal of the core of Earth. They are like the sun within us. And what we feel in our hearts, the truth, the deep feelings underneath it all, the knowings, the intuitive knowing, that the knowledge that comes from heart, that is a mirror or a fractal of what is going on in Earth. So ask yourself, am I safe? Is all well? And see what message you receive. Now, the Earth also shared with me some absolutely beautiful information, which I want to share with you too. The first thing she said, well, actually, I'm going to jump around all over the place here. I think I'll go with this one. So she explained to me that from her perspective, she's not worried at all. Like, while we might be worried about the wars and the environmental disasters and all this money and everything else that's concerning people at the moment, she's not worried at all. She is shifting into a frequency of joy. So if you've looked at my previous material, or you follow, I guess, this kind of spiritual teachings in general, you might be aware that every being, let's just go with humans for the moment, humans emit a certain frequency which correlates to an emotional range, emotional frequency. So emotions are frequencies, right? And you can measure them. There is science behind this. David Hawkins is the best person I know that can explain this. His book, Power versus Force, explains how all the different emotions correlate to various levels of life force energy. So, for example, the lower emotions, such as shame or grief, emit very low levels of life force energy. They are almost anti-life. They are destructive to us. Whereas if you go into the realms of courage and reason, acceptance, willingness, love, bliss, playfulness, all the good stuff, those emotions are of a much higher frequency, and they're expressed as a positive thing in this earth. They are life enhancing. Now, the earth also has a frequency. So each human being has a sort of a core frequency that they are emitting, like a default, and that can be changed. This fluctuates all the time, but to change it, you have to work hard. You have to work on your thoughts and your reactions to things. But just as every human being is carrying a certain frequency, so is the earth. And earth and humanity, by default, because we are an extension of earth, we have been primarily existing in a frequency of fear in the last, thousands of years. Okay? A long, 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 long time. This has been what the Indian Vedas would call Kali Yuga, the dark age, the age of fear. And fear is a survival emotion, so this is why we see so much greed, so much corruption, people hurting each other, because they're in survival mode, right? And terrible things playing out on the planet. So this isn't a bad thing, however. From a divine perspective, this is a learning time, a learning period for humanity, who is, as a species, as a race on this earth, in its infancy still. Our potential is vast, and we're only just coming into what one might call the beginning of maturity, I believe. But this has been our school. We've gone through this, and I have, heard people who communicate with celestial beings say that this is the natural process for planets to go through, planets and the beings on them. They go through a third dimensional dense experience of polarity, duality, where fear is present in varying degrees. On Earth it has been quite extreme, I believe, in comparison to other evolving planets. So Earth is shifting up a gear, and I was shown Mama Earth explained to me she's shifting into joy. She's going from fear to joy, which is a hell of a jump. I know in my own healing journey it hasn't been easy to shift from fear into joy. That's definitely been my own path. And now I see that it's not just my unique journey. One of the reasons why I've gone through this in this lifetime, this healing journey of mine, is because I too am shifting with Earth. So all of the human beings who are willing and able to come with on this journey as Earth shifts into her state of joy are going through it themselves. We're literally fractals. So joy is what will be the fifth dimensional consciousness default frequency, right? Like a bandwidth of emotion. And there will be other emotions too, but it's going to be pronounced. Now, I'm not just like looking into the future. Sorry, that's my beautiful rooster, as you can hear. I'm not looking into the future and guessing here, because I actually have this lived experience of living in joy perpetually for, sometimes weeks. Occasionally a month will go by and I'm just always in this joy. But usually it's, days and days and days of joy. And then I might have a setback and a fall, and then I go back into my state of joy. But I know from these experiences that it is actually possible to actually reside in joy. And it's a grounded joy. It's not a overly excited, joy that is dysfunctional and creates wobbles in your life, where it's not like drunk joy. It's grounded joy. It's sensible joy. But it still can be clear, and you can work and you can get on and do things you need to do. So anyway, so that's the thing about joy that Mama Earth wanted to share. Now, closely aligned with joy is this other beautiful thing I was shown. So let me just see. I might even read some of my some of my diary. So, okay, so under the information about joy frequency, I did write this, which I thought was quite interesting to share. Even now in the early stages of this transition on the planet, people are finding it necessary to follow joy in their actions and do things that bring them joy. So, a lot of shifts going on, people changing jobs or getting out of relationships or moving to places, following what they think will bring them joy, right? Following their bliss. Things that bring them less than joy are more difficult to do. It's getting harder to go against what brings you joy. Okay? This means making decisions from the heart like never before and allowing all else to fall away. Spirit showed me how far I have come, how the majority of my activities are now done in joy and aligned with my will. So my will, what do I want? We want joy, right? Human beings have chosen joy. The planet has chosen joy. That in itself is enough to make one joyful. And, this is just a transition, as dark as it might look sometimes. This is where we're moving to. Okay. Now, this was really beautiful too. So, I'm very much aware that I do love myself. There are layers, we're like onions. We've got layers and layers, and my sort of default overlay, if you like, my modus operandi as I walk through the world is not one of constant love for myself. Like, I do criticize myself a fair bit. I've got this negative, worried sort of self-chatter going on, which I'm working hard to eliminate, or at least transmute. But when I go deeply into meditations, or when I have these night journeys, I become conscious of how much I truly love myself. And it's a love that surpasses, anything I've really felt on this planet. and it's not I don't feel alone. I feel like I'm being loved by my higher self or my guardian angels or the beings that are watching out for me, or in fact the whole of humanity or the whole of the universe. It just depends, at the time what sort of metaphors are coming through in my consciousness. But it's like blending with God itself. It's really beautiful experience to love yourself at that deep level. And I'm sure many people on the planet are glimpsing that now, or if they haven't already got there. Again, this is another kind of default state that we're going to be in, I think, when we make the full transition. But one thing I hadn't really thought about was this idea of falling in love or being in love with Earth. And for me, that I always say I love the Earth. Of course I love nature, I love forests, I love animals, all that kind of things. But when I say that, it's quite an abstract sort of a thing to think about. Whereas in this night journey, what happened for me is I went fully into that feeling of loving Earth, really truly loving Earth. Like I was just, that I think for most of us the comparison that we can make, or the analogy, would be when you fall in love with someone else. Like that is, for human beings, the easiest way to experience that incredible state of, like, it's almost ecstasy. It's just utter adoration of what is in front of you. And when we fall in love with a man or a woman, somebody that, we want to be with, wow, that's what happens. The heart just goes, opens wide. And we're in a state of rapture, And this is what the mystics talk about. And Rumi, that beautiful Persian poet who speaks of love for the world and for God in such deep ways. This is the kind of love I'm talking about. So you can imagine transposing what it feels like to fall in love with a human being. Imagine yourself falling in love with Earth in the same way, right? And it's not just Earth, it's also the world. It's all the experiences. It's everything that goes into this world is ultimately how the fifth dimensional human beings on Earth will be. We will be in love with this place and this life. And what a contrast that is when you compare it to where we've come from. Because I'm quite sure that most human beings have felt the opposite experience, which is, I hate this place. I hate myself and I hate this place. I know I have, absolutely. Many times. Wanted to just jump ship. I'm out of here. This place, horrible. I mean, this is the miracle of what we're doing. We and Mother Earth and all the beings on her right now is we're flipping this. Everything that was our norm will no longer be. It's going to be over, and a new world is being born where we will experience that love without effort, without having to, go and sit in a cave and meditate like the yogis used to do to achieve these mystical states. It will just be there in our consciousness. So what else was there's another thing I wanted to share. Okay, so I was introduced to this term called the Primal Self, and linked into our relationship with the earth as human beings is this idea that many of us have not only not loved the earth, but we've actually been very scared of the earth. We carry in our DNA, I believe, fear of the earth. And this has just gotten worse and worse, if you like, through the generations, because a lot of people on Earth now today are so disconnected from the earth, living in high-rise units without hardly touching the ground. We wear rubber on the soles of our feet so we don't connect to the electromagnetic fields of the earth the way that we should if we were if we had bare feet. Lots of people don't like to get their hands dirty. We're afraid of the dark, the night. We're afraid of the weather. We're afraid of animals. I know people that live in cities who the smallest little bug comes in their house and they panic and they have to get the fly spray out and kill it. This is the kind of fear that I'm talking about. There is a fear of what's out there in terms of nature, a fear of nature. And that's a program. That's an indoctrination that has been allowed to proliferate on the planet because it served us to be learning from the school of fear, right? But as part of our unraveling, as part of our transition, we are now going to, we have to go back. We have to unwind that programming, and we have to understand that not only does Earth love us, it's reciprocal, but we're safe here. This is our home, and she's got us, and there's nothing to be afraid of. You know, and yes, people die, animals die, things die, branches fall, mosquitoes bite you, paralysis ticks bite you and cause great harm, right? Things happen, but that's actually, as we evolve into our fifth dimensional consciousness, we begin to see how we co-create those things. And if we ourselves are in a state of harmonious frequency with the earth, then they will not happen unless it's benevolently guided for that to happen. So we can trust what occurs. I can feel myself going down a rabbit hole with that one, so I'm just going to leave it at that for the moment. And I want to just read you some of what I wrote about this primal self. I was shown that the way for 5D humans, so the new humans, to enter this heaven of this realm that we are creating here, is through love of the earth. Not abstract love, but real love, as if one were falling in love with a lover. This embodiment of love for earth is done first through embodiment of love for self. When love for earth is embodied, we enter our primal self. This self has embraced and is aware of its primal nature as a being on earth. This has been denied for a long time in human culture, save those indigenous cultures who have kept the spirit of this alive. Most humans are far removed from their physical humanness, their earthly needs, and in denial of their lowest chakras. So the lowest chakras are survival chakras. We live in a state of survival and fear, yes, but we're frightened of those things as well. We're frightened of death and decay and eating and sex, and I mean at a deep level. I know like on the surface we all eat, we all have sex, right? But it's those deep processes that are really, you know, quite magnificent when you think about it, what's going on there. And I think that's probably why the human beings are frightened of it, because it is so vast. It's so, I can't even explain it, other than I did go on a plant medicine journey one time, which maybe touches on what the feeling I'm trying to convey here. In my plant medicine journey, I went into my stomach and I saw what was in there, and it wasn't pretty from a human perspective, right? There were a bazillion, like millions and millions and millions of bugs and things and bacteria and elements. I don't even know what they are. I don't know what names to give them. I guess it's like a whole biome in there, isn't there? And then I saw this huge blue like parasite thing. It looked like a scorpion, but it was blue. It was coming. Really creepy. The message I got in that plant medicine journey was to take some diatomaceous earth for this parasite. So that was very useful. But it was gross. And that's what I'm talking about, right? That we have rejected that aspect of being a human being on the planet to some degree. Not all of us, just like generally. Okay. So this can present as a distaste for the messiness of the earth, the blood, the sex, eating, death, decay, and so on, which is in our carnal consciousness. This is why Spirit is asking, this is interesting, Spirit has been asking me lately to eat meat again, even though I'm vegetarian, and I have been for nearly 20 years. Bit of a tangent there, but Spirit would like me to integrate these physical desires and needs into my awareness. And everything is divine is the teaching, right? Everything is divine. All of these things we've been denying are divine. And as a fifth dimensional human being, we're being asked to embrace it all of it, all the messiness, the darkness, what happens at night, the night time. How many human beings are afraid of the night time? Many people, children sleep with the light on sometimes. Probably adults do as well. It's out there, can we trust it? Okay, so I'll just check if there's anything else there that I needed to share about that. At the heart of much disease is the fear people hold of their own primal nature and the primal nature of Earth. They've been taught to be afraid. Going back now, doing a full loop to geoengineering, the fears of geoengineering or climate change. These are a modern example comparable to the gods must be angry. Okay, so in earlier times, I believe, when there was terrible weather, it was attributed to the gods being angry. And I know some people would laugh at that and think that was a silly old superstition. I can see that there's actually some truth to it. As in, we need to live in harmony for spirit to take care of us. I walk with mindfulness these days, and I know if I do something that's out of alignment with my true integrity, then I do suffer the consequences. And I guess that was the point of the gods must be angry. But the point I'm trying to make is that there was a fear base behind that story, and it may well have been a kind of a manipulator's story to have the people living in fear, because this manipulation has been going on for thousands of years. And our modern day version is you must fear climate change and you must fear geoengineering. It doesn't matter which storyline you look at, they're both fear based. I went to the source herself, Mother Earth, and Mother Earth has got this, and she loves us, and we are her. We are not just a part of her, we are her. If you have a heart that's beating, that is a heart that comes from the earth. That is a heart that is connected to the earth, to the center of the earth. If you have a mind that is thinking thoughts, that is the thoughts of the earth. Right? You are a part of that. You are part of the collective mental realm of thoughts and ideas and abstract concepts and beliefs that exist on this earth. If you breathe, you're breathing in the earth, the spirit of air, one of her 4 major beautiful elements that sustains all life. You are the earth. So fall in love with yourself. Fall in love with earth. Fall in love with this experience. Let it be the fullness that it can be for you. Stop looking at life through the tiny little focal points of story, and this is the humdrum of my life, and this is how it exists. This is autopilot. Take away those blinkers. Allow yourself to relax. To activate this, you have to do different things. I find one of the best activators for the states of consciousness is going into nature and walking in the forest and communing. But also a lot of ceremony, sitting with fire, meditation, being willing to allow yourself to change on a really deep level and come into different states of knowing that have nothing to do with going to university or earning a certificate that you can put on your wall. Just one last analogy that might help people. It's a bit like the beings in Avatar, where we're going. That is the primal self. Those blue beings depicted what a primal self looks like. A being that is fully in resonance with the planet that it lives on. Oh, I just got goosebumps. And fully trust. Remember how those blue beings completely trusted? They were like jumping through the trees and they knew exactly what to eat, and they were supported by this planet. And we're the same. We have the capacity to do this, and that's where we're going. Fifth dimensional beings we're not just going to be like, light bodies. I don't think anyway. Maybe that's far in the future, sort of not of the earth, like just floating above it. No, we have bodies. We're going to be here. We're going to have our feet on the ground. We're going to be growing veggies. We're going to be, working with our domestic animals the way we have for a long, long time. And right now, as we speak, one of my chickens is passing away. And that's what it's like on earth. That's how it is. There's life and death. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. So I hope that was helpful. And yeah, it's really hard to convey these deep concepts in words, but I try my best, and just offer this teaching into the pool of collective consciousness so that it can ripple out and continues to support this incredible change, because wow, it is joyful. It's very exciting, and I encourage you to see life through that lens as much as possible, and filter out any fear-based stories that are coming your way. Enjoy your life. Enjoy what you do every day. Give thanks for the sun. Give thanks for the rain. And yeah, we're going to be okay. Okay. Thank you for listening.